Estonia, officially known as the Republic of Estonia, is a small Baltic nation in Northern Europe. With a population of around 1.4 million people, it is one of the least populated countries in Europe. The capital city is Tallinn, and interestingly, about one-third of the entire population lives there. Nearly half of Estonia's land is covered in dense forests, and these are strictly protected. No one is allowed to cut them down. Besides its mainland, Estonia also has over 1,500 islands. However, because of its cold northern location, most of these islands are uninhabited. This is quite different from Greece, where almost every island is settled and marketed for tourism. Today, the country is known for its tech-savvy society and is often nicknamed the Internet Republic due to its advanced digital infrastructure. Estonia is a democratic parliamentary republic and has been a member of the European Union since 2011, becoming its 17th member. Thanks to EU membership, Estonians now enjoy free movement across Europe. This freedom to travel and work across the continent has significantly boosted the quality of life in Estonia. People's overall happiness has improved, and with the adoption of the euro, the country's economy has also seen steady growth. If you're thinking about visiting Estonia, you better be prepared for cold weather. The country's climate is heavily influenced by the Baltic Sea, which means even in summer, temperatures rarely go above 17 degrees Celsius, 62 degrees Fahrenheit. In winter, it's not uncommon for temperatures to drop to -10 degrees Celsius, 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Snow and cold dominate most of the year, giving the country a perpetual winter feel. So, if you're planning a trip to Estonia, I'd recommend going in the spring or summer months. Otherwise, you might find yourself stuck indoors, escaping the cold wind and constant rain. Also, Estonians who have lived in the cold for many years often find it quite challenging to adapt when visiting warmer countries like Turkey. Traveling to Estonia is fairly straightforward. From Istanbul, you can either take a direct flight to Tallinn, which takes about 3 hours, or choose a connecting flight that could take 5 to 6 hours depending on your route. Of course, you'll need a Schengen visa, just like you would for any other EU country. If we take a look at everyday life in Estonia, one of the first things to mention is the minimum wage, which is currently around 886 euros. Compared to most European countries, that's on the lower side. But here's the thing. What really matters isn't just how much you earn, but what you can actually buy with that money. Besides, in most European countries, very few people actually earn the minimum wage anyway. In Estonia, the average salaries generally range from 1,600 euros up to 10,000 euros. But of course, those earning 8,000 to 10,000 euros are usually top-level executives. So, your salary really depends on what kind of job you do. For example, manual laborers in Estonia typically earn about 1,100 euros a month, while software developers and IT engineers make between 3,000 and 7,000 euros plus. Teachers, on the other hand, earn somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000 euros. People usually work 40 hours a week, spread over 5 8-hour days. And for those over 18 who are unemployed, the Estonian government provides about 300 euros per month as unemployment support. In my opinion, if you have skills in computers or software development, Estonia should be at the top of your list of countries to work in. Estonia is one of the most tech-savvy countries in the world, especially when it comes to software and IT. Also, since most jobs here follow a 5-day work week, you might want to look for additional ways to earn extra income. For example, just like in the US, you can make good money by driving for Uber in Estonia. Of course, you'll need to have a car for that. Alternatively, you could work part-time as a courier or pick up shifts as a waiter on weekends. But honestly, if your goal isn't to save up a lot of money and you just want to enjoy life, Having one regular job is enough to live comfortably here. You won't starve in Estonia, my friends. When you arrive in Estonia, you'll notice that the official language is Estonian. Since Estonian is closely related to Finnish, people from Finland and Estonia can understand each other quite easily. During the long Soviet era, Russian was the dominant language, so you'll also hear a lot of Russian spoken, especially among older generations. Besides that, English and German are also commonly spoken minority languages. The multilingual environment is a good indicator of Estonia's high education levels. In fact, Estonia holds the world record for the highest literacy rate. Of course, given the country's small population, it's not entirely surprising that the percentage is so high. When it comes to religion, around 80% of Estonians don't actively follow any faith. Estonia is considered the most atheist country in the world by percentage. Following Estonia in this regard are countries like the Czech Republic and Sweden. Only about 16% of Estonians say they believe in God. There's even a joke that goes, "You might go to Estonia as a believer, but you'll leave as a non-believer." For example, even though Estonians accepted Christianity centuries ago, it's still surprising how they never fully embraced it. Those who are Christian often follow Western denominations, while the Russian minority tends to practice Orthodox Christianity. There's also a tiny Muslim community of around 3,000 people, mainly of Tatar and Azerbaijani descent. When you walk through Estonian streets after 8 p.m., you'll notice how quiet and empty they get. But don't let that give you the wrong impression about safety. Estonia is actually one of the safest countries in Europe when it comes to serious crimes like harassment, assault, incest, or fraud. And if you're into nightlife, don't worry. The country has plenty of bars and clubs to keep you entertained after dark. Interestingly, there are more women than men in Estonia, and women tend to live about 10 years longer. In fact, Estonia ranks number 1 in Europe in terms of women per man, even surpassing Lithuania. On top of that, some of the world's most stunning supermodels come from Estonia. Their genetic line has remained mostly untouched, and thanks to historical ties with Finland, the pure beauty of Northern Europe is deeply embedded in Estonian women. Most Estonian women are tall, blonde, and have strikingly colorful eyes. And they certainly know how to make the most of these features. Instead of spending years on stressful jobs or long academic careers, many Estonian girls pursue modeling as soon as they reach adulthood. This way, they manage to achieve their dreams within just a few years, leading lives that are far less stressful and much happier compared to men. But there's something important to know. Estonians, much like their country, are quite reserved and cautious when it comes to strangers. For instance, in the US, strangers might smile and greet you on the street. In Northern Europe, though, people often judge by appearances. If you're visiting Estonia with dark hair, dark eyes, and darker features, you'll likely experience a cold reception at first. There's still a prevailing mindset that people from the Middle East, Africa, and parts of Asia are not as civilized or trustworthy. So, if you're thinking of settling down in Estonia, you'll need to invest quite a bit of time to build social connections. Now, let's talk about one of Estonia's coolest features: the internet. If you're someone who spends most of your day online, Estonia's internet infrastructure will blow your mind. Internet freedom here is absolute, and with an average speed of 41 megabits per second, Estonia has one of the fastest internet networks in the world. They've taken full advantage of the digital age and are easily 20 years ahead of many countries in terms of digital infrastructure. You can access free Wi-Fi almost anywhere in Estonia. In fact, their constitution literally states that internet access is a basic human right. No matter who comes to power, this service is guaranteed for everyone. You might wonder how such a small country achieved what many larger nations couldn't. The secret lies in Estonia's size. The entire country spans just 45,228 square kilometers. That's about 17 times smaller than Turkey. Because of its compact geography, Estonia has been able to establish lightning-fast internet and efficient transportation networks. Everything from paying taxes to voting in elections is done online. For instance, if you're an Estonian citizen living abroad, you don't need to fly back home just to vote. As long as you have internet access, you can participate in national decisions in a matter of seconds. Estonia has moved almost every aspect of life into the digital space, making everyday tasks incredibly simple and efficient. Since the year 2000, Estonia has gone completely paperless for government procedures. All legal processes are handled electronically. Even in schools, kids as young as 7 are given computer and coding lessons. Another clever innovation from Estonia is their digital residency program. If you want to open a company or get a residency permit in Estonia, you can apply online without paying hefty fees to consultancy firms. Through this digital system, Estonia aims to increase its population to 10 million by 2025. Why? Because the country's birth rates are low, and with only 1.5 million people, Estonia's future economic stability is uncertain. They need more people to fuel productivity and boost development. By welcoming skilled individuals through digital applications, Estonia not only gains talent, but also collects taxes from these new digital residents. In fact, this system has become a significant revenue stream for the government. Travel within Estonia is also incredibly convenient. Much like in Scandinavian countries, you can get from one city to another in under an hour. This saves a lot of time for locals. The absence of traffic problems is another bonus, thanks to the well-established tram networks in city centers. These trams let you hop around cities without dealing with buses. Speaking of buses, public transport in the capital, Tallinn, is completely free. And this easy transportation system doesn't just benefit Estonians, it's a huge plus for their Finnish neighbors too. Since Finland is right above Estonia, many Finns take a quick ferry ride over to stock up on basic goods, as life in Finland is significantly more expensive. Estonia holds the distinction of being the first nation to break away from the Soviet Union and print its own currency. The economy primarily relies on petroleum and industry, but fishing is still a common livelihood for some. Due to the land not being very suitable for agriculture, rural populations focus more on livestock, particularly cattle and pigs. In short, Estonia is one of the most peaceful and fascinating countries in the world. A hidden gem definitely worth visiting. Now, if you're planning to move to Estonia by yourself, renting a studio or a one-bedroom apartment in the capital, Tallinn, will cost you anywhere between 400 and 500 euros per month. But if you're thinking of moving there with your family, be prepared to spend at least 800 euros for a bigger place. Estonia's population is quite small, so families tend to be small as well, and developers don't often build large apartments. That's why larger apartments in city centers are rare and can go up to 1,500 euros in rent. Houses in Estonia are categorized into A, B, and C classes, with A-class homes being the most comfortable. For instance, even in freezing cold weather, an A-class home will have excellent insulation, saving you a lot on energy bills. But naturally, the more luxurious the apartment, the higher the rent. On the other hand, if you live in a lower-class home, you'll probably need to keep the heating on all year round, which can become a big hassle. For a single person, monthly grocery expenses, including meat, vegetables, and other essentials, usually amount to around 250 to 300 euros. On top of that, utilities like electricity, internet, and gas will add an extra 100 euros to your monthly bills. Estonians generally enjoy their wine, and you'll find that nearly every home has at least one bottle. A standard 700 milliliter bottle of wine in a supermarket costs around 15 to 20 euros. If you plan to go out for an evening, including food and drinks, expect to spend around 30 euros. In their free time, people in Estonia often hit the gym or enjoy winter sports. For men, getting a haircut can be a bit of a problem, though. Barbers typically charge between 30 and 40 euros for a basic haircut. And that doesn't even include a beard trim. Honestly, buying a hair clipper and cutting your own hair might be a smarter choice here. Of course, there are always people who try to work under the table, but employers in Estonia rarely take that risk. The fine for hiring an undocumented worker is about 1,500 euros per person. On top of that, the worker can face hefty fines and even be banned from entering Estonia for up to 10 years. If you want to work legally in Estonia, you need to apply for a Type E work visa through the Estonian embassy in Ankara or its local consulates. This brings us to the end of the video. See you in the next one. Goodbye.